KCL Cattle Company is a family-owned and operated feedlot in the Lethbridge County. We have 3 feedlots, 6,000 acres we farm, so we have about 55 to 60 staff. It started with my parents 25 years ago and has grown pretty substantially and pretty quickly. Every year we kind of seem to grow more and more, and so I remember being 20 staff and that felt really big, and then now we're up to 55 to 60 staff. It's a big wheel that we're turning.
Well, I was born into a farm family this south of Coledale. Always enjoyed farm life. So in 1999, a friend phoned me about this yard here that we are at, the West Lot, that had come up for sale, and with the help of my father, we purchased this farm. We are strictly a finishing feedlot, so all of the cattle that we bring in here go to slaughter, mainly to 2 plants in Alberta. And then on the farm side, which we have expanded a lot since we started, we are growing corn silage, wheat and barley silage for the cattle, pinto beans, sugar beets, and then we're starting to get into a potato company with 3 of us all together in the area. We're excited about that. It's very rewarding having the family involved. A lot of the day-to-day is run by my next generation.
We've always focused on keeping it really family as much as we can. Even in the growth, we've been working hard to try to keep the family feel as much as possible. We value family and we also value a good life. Day-to-day in the feedlot is pen checkers, so they're on horses checking the cattle, and then feed truck drivers, so feeding the cattle. General maintenance, and then we have a shop, Class 1 drivers, people who run the tractors. We kind of cross between the farm and the feedlot, so some of the farming staff also help out in the feedlot whenever we need it.
The County of Lethbridge has some of the best farmland in the world, so we're blessed to have the irrigation to make that all possible.
We focus on a sustainable future for our families and all the families involved, so we can have a good life with great food.